feature presentation.
He'll be fine on the mountain.
JB and Darren on the JB and Goldwater Show.
Line drive right field, base hit. South Carolina wins the College World Series. Watson, touchdown. Hunter Renfrow. He got him, and it's all over. Coastal Carolina rules the roost. They win the championship. And South Carolina has won the national championship.
The Citadel baseball team has done it again, but this time the Bulldogs beat one of the top teams in the country. They are giant killers. Get the ball to Bennett. He does.
Gamecocks are in the Final Four.
All right, greetings and a good Tuesday afternoon, and welcome aboard the JB and Goldwater Show, live, loud, and online, and very proudly presented by Motley Rice. Causes not just cases, MotleyRice.com, and always driven by Stokes Volkswagen, StokesVW.com. Make sure you have downloaded the JB and Goldwater app. It is free. So download that, have it in your phone. You can take us anywhere you go, like Dos Banditos. I've been out of the country for 2 weeks. Did I miss anything? Well, if you had our app, you could have watched us or listened to us wherever you were.
Nothing happened yesterday either. Nothing at all.
No, everything's good. But for that right there, that reason, we are worldwide, if you'd like to call it that. Follow us on social media at JB and Goldwater, individually at Sports Media JB, and at Darren Goldwater. The Share Healthcare chat lines are open, and you can chime right in. We'll have Debbie Antonelli in less than 15 minutes. Debbie is set to call hoops again this week in the opening rounds of the NCAA men's basketball tournament. So we will get her preview from men's side and from the women's side, when we'll get her reaction to the firing of Frank Martin that happened yesterday after we got off the air. Keith Allsep will join us at 1:20 today as well. And Keith will certainly have a lot to say as well on this situation and where the Gamecocks go from here. Freddie Freeman doesn't look like he's coming back to Atlanta, because they signed Matt Olson yesterday, in case you've been under a rock for the last 24 hours or so. So we'll certainly get into some of that. Spring practice has begun in Columbia, South Carolina. Not a lot from there, but Shane will talk to the media in a little while, and so anything newsworthy we'll pass along. But it is neat to see everybody back in spring practice with football cranking up here in the early part of the year. And whatever else is on your mind today, we'll get to it. There's some major stuff going on in the NFL, including a new suitor potentially for Deshaun Watson. So that is all on our agenda today, Darren. But clearly we know what everybody wants to discuss, and that is Frank Martin. And it was not shocking yesterday to get the news after we got off the air that he had been relieved of his duties as South Carolina's head men's basketball coach.
Not surprising at all. I'm glad it happened this quickly, right? That was the first discussion that I brought up after the SEC tournament. Was I expect a resolution sooner than later, and if there was no NIT, I expected right after the announcement for the NIT. This is not a surprise. I disagreed. I didn't go back at Mike Uva much yesterday. I mean, I understood his point from a business standpoint and lessening the buyout to wait. But at this point, you can't drag this thing out. You can't let that go down the road again like it has last year, like it has largely throughout this year. You can't possibly tell me Frank Martin did not know this was coming, because that's why he was campaigning for himself in the last few weeks of the year. This is good for both. Frank Martin will land on his feet and get a fresh start, and the Gamecocks need a fresh start as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure this is, and we're obviously going to talk about Frank. I tweeted this out yesterday. If you follow me on Twitter, you saw it. If you don't, then you didn't. The last four head coaches at South Carolina, Eddie Fogler, who was at Wichita State and Vanderbilt for a combined 7 years before he came to Columbia, had 4 NCAA tournament appearances, 3 NITs, and won 63% of his games. At South Carolina, he was here for 8 years, had 2 NCAA appearances and 2 NITs, and only won 51% of his games. Dave Odom was Winston-Salem with Wake Forest for 12 years, where he made 8 appearances to the dance. I think 3 Sweet 16s and an Elite 8, won 65% of his games. 7 years in Columbia, just 1 tournament bid and 3 NITs, 55% of his games he won. Darren Horn at Western Kentucky for 5 years, 2 NITs and an NCAA appearance up there where he won 70% of his games. That is a 1-bid league generally. So that was a really good resume before he got to South Carolina. 4 years in a Gamecock uniform, 1 NIT, won just 49%. And then Frank, 5 years at Kansas State with 4 NCAA bursts and an Elite 8 in there and an NIT, 68% of his games he won as the head coach. 10 years in Columbia, just 1 NCAA berth. It was a dandy. They went to the Final Four, which is still an achievement I just never dreamed possible. And 1 NIT and won 54% of his games. And the question I have with all that is, why? And we still don't have those answers, but these are all guys who've been very successful where he got to South Carolina. Why are they not successful in Columbia? And I don't know.
It's a good question. It's a valid question. And it's one that fans want to know the answer to a point. But at the end of the day, whoever this next coach is, his job's to fix that. And it doesn't, the history right there doesn't matter because what Ray Tanner is saying here, and correctly so, is we need more success than that. And maybe that's what it takes. Maybe it takes someone really holding the foot to the fire and not letting long droughts like this go. But the next hire, that's his job. His job is to come in and fix that. College basketball today is a lot different than it was 3 years ago, and it's a lot different than it was 20 years ago. So that's why it's obviously an important hire. You're hiring the head men's basketball coach. There's only one coach in the country now at a Power 5 school or a major conference school that has been in his job for the last 5 years, and they have not made a postseason trip, either the NIT or NCAA, and that's Collins up at Northwestern. Frank was the other one. This is good for Frank. It's good for the school, and you get the right guy, and this can turn around. It really can. I can cross a lot of names that I've seen on the list. I can cross some of those right off, and I think there are some, I'm sure, that we don't know about yet.
No question.
But because there are a ton, I've said this over and over, ton of good basketball coaches out there, and if you get the right guy, then he can turn this thing around. And it's not going to be about the history of why can't we win, because it's going to be, hey, this guy got it going, and then maybe find a way to sustain that success that you got going.
Yeah, I think Frank has left this program in better shape than all of his predecessors, and that is definitely a sticking point here. And you're exactly right. And I think people need to realize whatever list they're looking at today, that list is going to be different tomorrow. It might not be public, but it is going to be different. The information that I have is that the list is growing rapidly, that there is a lot of interest out there from around the country about this job for multiple reasons. One is that the shape that Frank has left it in. I mean, they went 18-13, not 13-18, not 10-20. They went 18-13 this year. They're not far off, and they're only a few years removed from a Final Four. They're in a recruiting hotbed. The state of South Carolina produces elite basketball talent. I think we've seen that. It's a small state, but the guys that play in it are really good. Georgia, Augusta, Florida. There's so many places around here. There is a pipeline to the Northeast already established, and that is very intriguing. Coach Tanner is prepared to pay somebody. For those that are fearful of that, have no fear. He will pay the right guy that is worth the money that needs to be paid. And yeah, you're right, Darren, as well. There are some names that have already emerged that, look, I'm not in Ray Tanner's shoes. Coach Tanner is going to do what he feels like he needs to do. He does have some guys who are in place who are very closely working this situation with him. They have been working this situation for a while in preparation that this day may come. There was a lot of hope that it wouldn't come, but if it did come, they wanted to be prepared, and they are prepared. They have been prepared, and you can be sure of that. This is my hunch. This is not information from the athletic department, so don't quote this as total truth. But if you're hoping for Mike Boynton or Earl Grant, you're probably going to be disappointed. I don't think either one of those guys is coming to South Carolina. Mike Boynton, you're going to pay a lot of money to get him if you really want him, and he just signed a new deal last year. That does not look likely. Earl Grant, probably not likely, and only being at Boston College for 1 year. The Sean Miller name has popped up. I know some people are very discouraged by that because of his tie-ins to the FBI. I'll be honest with you. I have been as well. I've done the research I can do. The only information that I could personally pass along from that standpoint, Darren, is that there are a bunch of hurdles that were absolutely cleared. And again, I don't want to be the quote-unquote know-it-all. Try not to do that. But if I could ever speak for Coach Tanner will not associate himself with somebody who breaks rules, okay? He's not going to do it. He's never done it. You're going to get fired if you break the rules. Period. The end under under Ray Tanner. But that being said, the Sean Miller situation, from what I understand, there is some leniency, at least in having conversations with him based on the information that they have currently.
Yeah, so I would be pretty uncomfortable with the Sean Miller thing. Yeah, there's hurdles that's been cleared, but Will Wade just got run out of LSU, and you're bringing a guy right back into the league who's involved at some level with the exact same scandal and exact same investigation.
Right.
Could it happen? Yeah, he's a hell of a basketball coach, and you can kind of walk some of that stuff away and give your reasoning for it. Much easier to do that than with Greg Marshall. Take him off that list. Take him off the list now. It'll be a disgraceful hire if Greg Marshall is hired. I don't think that's possible. I don't think Earl Grant would be a good hire, even if Earl Grant was interested in coming back. Obviously, he went to
I agree with that too, Darren.
Yeah, I don't think he's the guy. I think what you need is a much more energetic and engaging personality. I think that's very, very important in this hire. Someone who is going to play a brand of basketball that really plays well in today's SEC. That's not what Earl Grant does. I expect this is going to be some big name that will probably surprise me, or a hot up-and-comer. Pat Kelsey is high on my list here. Very high. He will bring an energy like Beamer. He will bring a style of play that blends well with the SEC. He brings proven experience in the transfer portal. I know he's only been at the college for 1 year. I like him a lot. I like Matt McMahon a lot at Murray State. The problem is these names that you're going to hear are going to be the same names on every single board. So now the question is, who are you going to get? Who can you get?
Yeah, I mean, Matt McMahon is probably the one guy of all the mid-majors, even over Pat Kelsey, personally speaking, to this point, that I am much more intrigued with than any of them. Intel I got yesterday, because I talked to a source yesterday. I said, all right, well, Matt McMahon is probably being pursued by Florida, LSU, everybody. He said, the word I get is that Florida is very, very interested in Anthony Grant. And Anthony Grant might end up being the next head guy down in the swamp with the Gators basketball program. We'll see. That's just the intel that I picked up yesterday. Anything that we pick up now is probably going to be changed in 5 to 10 minutes. Okay. So it doesn't mean that the info was wrong if it doesn't work out. It just means that it changes quickly. And Darren, you've been around basketball a long time. It rapidly changes. I do totally believe, again, based on other intel, that Coach Tanner is swinging for the fences, and you can take that however you want to take it. But he is going to swing for the fences, and you're going to have to tell him no, and then you're going to have to tell him no again, and might need to slip a third or fourth time in there. He wants to get it right, and he has made sure that he has the support that he needs to get it right. So there's a crowd out there, and I don't think we've got a lot of them that necessarily watch or listen to our program, of the thousands that do every day. And if you do, you haven't voiced it with us, that can't wait to get on social media and criticize Coach Tanner for all types of things, including whether the grass hasn't been cut and whether there's a pothole or not outside in the parking lot somewhere. But Coach Tanner is he's got it together when it comes to trying to get this thing right. So I would have some faith in the AD at South Carolina. And we'll have to see where the chips fall, and we'll go from there. The other parts of the conversation, as we've seen John Whittle and Mike Yuva publicly say the last 24 hours, are that South Carolina was almost nailing coffin with G.G. Jackson. So what does that mean? Does it mean that the door is going to be completely closed to reeling in the top prospect in the country?
No.
The intel I say says no. Is it less likely? Yes. Could that be?
That's fair, but that's very fair. But look, if he really wants to go to South Carolina, it wasn't just because of a great relationship with Frank, which obviously he had. I'll say this too. Patino's name gets floated out there about swinging for the fences. Everyone's swinging for him. Maryland thought they had him. He might actually be happy up there in New York at Iona.
Yeah.
I'd be stunned by that. And also don't know if it's a great idea to bring in a guy almost 70 at this point.
Yeah, I look, don't know Rick Pitino, but we'll see. I would imagine that at the tail end of his career, he's probably pretty comfortable doing things that haven't been done before at Iona. Kind of a Steve Spurrier type thing with what Steve did at South Carolina, But we'll put that part of the conversation on pause. We're definitely going to get back into it. But now we bring in one of the great voices in all of basketball from coast to coast. She will be calling games again this weekend in March Madness, and it is a great honor to call her a friend, and we all soon get to call her Hall of Famer. Debbie Antonelli has been kind enough to join us here on a gorgeous Tuesday afternoon. Hi, Debbie.
Guys, you are so kind. Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be with you. How you guys doing?
Oh, great. We're great. I haven't. This is the first time you and I have talked. I know we've texted, but so I guess it'll just have to be publicly. It makes me, I don't know why, but so proud to see your name come up with the Hall of Fame, to be selected. It was I got goosebumps when I saw it a few weeks ago. So I'm so happy for you and your family, Debbie. Congratulations, first and foremost. I know we're going to talk about March Madness and all that, but we just have to give you the biggest of shout outs. It's so earned and deserved. And I cannot wait until that ceremony comes. Congratulations.
Well, thank you so much. It's a humbling, emotional experience for sure. I'm so grateful that I'll get to share it with my family and friends and all my colleagues that I have worked with for 34 years on the air. I mean, I'm not measured by a score or a record or anything like that. And what makes me so proud is that I get to, share my life's work with my family and, my service to the game. I just feel like I've been so fortunate. I mean, they actually pay me, and now they're going to give me an award for getting to do what I love to do. It's great.
What was the phone call like? Did you get a phone call? Like what was your reaction? How did that happen?
I am, for 20 years, I've served on the board of the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame, and we had an executive call, and I came up on the Zoom like everyone else for the call, and the president went through a couple of line items of business and then said, by the way, they just kind of matter-of-factly said, congratulations. So it was a little surprising. I wasn't expecting it. They definitely caught me off guard, but it was a wonderful way to deliver the news from a bunch of my colleagues that I've worked hard with to try to advance the game.
What was your reaction? Did you start crying? Did you cheer? Were you quiet? What'd you do?
I just sat quietly and dropped my head. I didn't want to cry. It was just an overwhelming. I wasn't expecting it, so they definitely caught me off guard. And it was I didn't even know I was one of the 12 finalists. That happened while I was on the air. It came up at halftime. One of my producers was like, make sure you're watching the halftime. They're going to put the reveal out. And I'm like, the reveal's not coming out today. That's another couple of weeks. Never thinking that, that this was going to happen. And then I didn't actually see it. My phone started blowing up. Congratulations. And that's how I knew. My play-by-play partner knew. She wanted me to make sure I was watching the halftime. So I didn't actually see it. So it was all like a big surprise. All of it was shocking.
How many text messages did you have in your phone?
More than I could respond to, actually. It took me a couple of days to get back to everyone, but it's pretty exciting. And I'm so grateful, friends and colleagues like you guys. And, I love the game. That's pretty clear. Everybody knows that. And to be able to share it with my passion with so many different people and to try to keep evolving and growing the game, that's what the important thing is here. And I'm really grateful that I was selected. And it's a great class. It's people that I know personally. I've covered them, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be really fun. My family's looking forward to it.
I bet.
Well, congratulations, Debbie. That is so cool. For those that can't wait to listen to Debbie call games this week, Friday, she'll have the 14-3 matchup in Milwaukee, Yale and Purdue. And then that night you will be on the call of Iowa State and LSU, who does not have a head coach. And then we don't know who you're going to call on Sunday because they got to play the Friday games. But we'll get those times, I guess, Saturday or late Friday night, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I've got 4 on Friday, and then we have the day off Saturday, and then 2 on Sunday. That's how it works. So it'll be the Yale, Purdue, Virginia Tech, Texas winners on Sunday, and then it'll be LSU and Iowa State, Wisconsin, Colgate winners on the second game on Sunday.
Oh,
So it's very exciting. This is my 6th year, counting the COVID year, working for CBS in the tournament, and I'm really excited about the teams I have.
You have a really intriguing little quad right there. I mean, that's up there on the quads that anyone could have received.
No kidding.
Well, I know going into it, our team, our production team, we know we're not going to get the 1s and the 2s, but we might get the 3s and the 4s. And so we're very fortunate to have a couple of 3s with Purdue and Wisconsin. So I'm in Virginia Tech. I've covered them all year. I had Wisconsin earlier in the year. I've been to Hamilton, New York. I've covered Colgate before. So it's Texas, of course. It's just exciting. The whole thing is awesome. It doesn't matter what teams you get at this point. The most fun part is I'm in my home watching film, waiting to travel tomorrow.
So cool. Well, that's why you're on today. I texted you about tomorrow, and you crammed us in today. You're the best. You are the best. All right. We're going to run through the brackets in just a minute, Debbie, but obviously the big news in our state is Coach Martin no longer the head coach at South Carolina. I just wanted to get some reaction from you on that.
Well, first of all, I've never heard anyone say a bad word about Frank Martin. He is a wonderful guy. He is a first-class human being. And, I think South Carolina gave him time, and it just didn't work out. And, Coach Martin is going to be fine because he is an incredible person who's grounded in his faith, and he is a good dude. So guys like that bounce back. He's done things the right way. He's not a cheater. He never compromised. He did it his way. It just didn't fit, right? So he'll be fine. And South Carolina will move on, and they'll get somebody really good.
Great comments. How would you describe that job, Debbie? You've been around it for years. How would you describe the South Carolina men's job?
Exciting, challenging, incredibly loyal fan base, opportunity where not much has been done. Those are the kind of jobs you like. You don't want to have to, replace somebody that was like John Wooden. That's hard. This is a little bit easier. And I'm not disrespecting Frank at all. I'm just saying this is a great opportunity, terrific facilities, a loyal fan base, a great league who's probably having its best year of college basketball ever. And it's a good time. It's a good time to come in and, the style of play will be important, I think, for the fans. And I think they'll get somebody really good.
Well, I'm not sure if you've seen the list of candidates, but fans actually have John Wooden on that list. Debbie, John's on it, and Frank McGuire.
No retirement.
Coach K, they're all on it. Roy. Well, everybody's really intrigued by hiring Coach Williams because he's always down in the the Isle of Palms area down there hanging out with the Holbrooks. So they're just going to bring him up to Columbia. That's what I keep hearing. So.
I mean, I would love to see Roy Williams as a head coach with Dave Odom and Bobby Cremins as his assistants. I mean, come on. How much fun would that be?
That would be fun.
That's right. Exactly. Have a special, give Coach K some type of off-court role. He doesn't need to be an assistant. Just make him a manager or something. All right, Debbie, let's get to it here. The men's side, the West, Gonzaga is the top seed. Duke is the 2 seed. I know there was some controversy around that, but what do you see when you look at that side of the bracket?
Well, first of all, let me tell you guys, I've been so fortunate. I had the last 3 home games in Cameron, including the Duke-Carolina game, which I got to call, which for somebody like me was beyond the bucket list. Okay, so let me just start with that. I hope that the emotion of the moment isn't going to be too much for the Blue Devils' young team. As much as Coach K thinks that they continue to mature, they continue to show ways that they're not a mature basketball team. Gonzaga is really good. I think, there's a reason why they're the overall number 1. They're the best at defending inside the 3-point line. The 2-point field goal percentage defense is number 1 in the country at 41.1. I know that because I just looked it up on Synergy. They're good. Chet Holmgren is outstanding. Drew Timme might be the best player. That's so overshadowed by a freshman who's really unique. Andrew Nembhard is a good player. He has really improved his athleticism and his agility since he got to Gonzaga versus his time at Florida. So I think, they're the team to beat for sure. Gonzaga's the team to beat.
Clearly, we're not asking you to pick teams coming out of regions and things like that. But who else in that region is dangerous? Somebody that's not named Gonzaga or Duke.
I think if Alabama can get hot, they're good. I think the matchup I'm interested in is Texas Tech and Alabama.
Yeah.
Texas Tech is so good defensively. They're physical and athletic. They switch 1 through 5. That can make it really tough. When you get to the tournament, the game shrinks, possessions shrink, and it just, there's not a lot of transition opportunity. There's not a lot of easy baskets. And Texas Tech seems like a veteran team that has some experience playing in a really hard, gritty Big 12. I really like the 3 seeds, to be honest with you. I think they're, I've got 2 of them. The other 2 are Tennessee and Texas Tech. It's going to be interesting. I don't know if they have enough offense, but they certainly can slow Alabama down and defend the 3-point line.
You just brought up an interesting point about once you get to tournament time, the way the game kind of slows down a little bit and the possessions are limited. I'm sure you were told, and you've watched the game your entire life, about certain things to expect. Now that you've been broadcasting these games for a handful of years, what have you seen firsthand in these tournament games that maybe you weren't expecting to see from either teams or trends?
Well, number one, if I was a head coach, I would be preparing my team all season long for situational offense. Baseline out of bounds, sideline out of bounds, after timeouts, things like that, when you know that you have to execute and you have to be able to do a really good job of getting some points in those situations where you don't have to you can take decision making out of your team, right? You don't have to ask them to, drive on this ball screen offense, get to the paint and make a choice. You can pretty much outline what you want them to do. When you get to the end of the game, you have to be able to handle game situations like situational offense. You have to be able to execute. There cannot be any game slippage. So teams that can do that, and usually that means you got to have good guards. And if you've got really good guards that can handle the tempo, can handle those situations, can manage the late game, you got a better chance. Then, because I see the game through an offensive lens, you got to be able to guard in the quarter court. Most teams will give up offensive rebounding to get back in transition and set their defense, because most coaches will tell you that's a big part of them being able to advance.
Speaking of all of that, in the East, Baylor's the top seed and Kentucky's the 2 seed, Debbie. A lot of people out there trending towards the Wildcats to maybe win a national championship under Coach Cal this year. How do you see that region?
Well, I like Kentucky. I mean, Oscar Tshiebwe, everybody's talking about him. He's good. But Ty Washington gives them an element of somebody who can, get in the paint and score. He's a big guard. But then Severe Wheeler has been outstanding all year when he's healthy. He's just so quick with the basketball, and he can make so many plays. I like Kentucky. I like them a lot because of their offensive firepower and because Tshiebwe can just clean up so many mistakes on the defensive end.
How would you categorize or how would you describe the Mountain West teams that are in the league this in the dance this year, Debbie? We've watched them all year. They seemingly are all really good. It's a little bit of a different brand of basketball, though.
Well, to get 4 teams out of that league, that's very impressive, right?
Unbelievable. Yeah.
I think Wyoming's a team that people like to talk about with Hunter Maldonado and Graham Ike. Those guys combine for 38 points a game. That's a tough inside-outside duo. I mean, I'm looking at them. I'm looking forward to watching them and seeing how they advance, if they can advance. I think it's pretty exciting that the Mountain West got 4. To the dislike and dismay of the ACC, obviously. But, yes, I mean, it's a big deal that they got 4.
Oh, it's huge. It's amazing. A couple 8 seeds, a 6 seed. How about in the South? Arizona's the top seed there. Villanova is a 2, and there's Tennessee, that 3 seed that a lot of folks thought should have been on a 2 line.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I thought Tennessee had played their way into a 2, but I also heard Joe Lenardi talking about maybe the weekend doesn't matter as much as people anticipate it does. Tennessee has everything, and our guy Josiah James is playing his best basketball.
Yeah.
I mean, he's knocking down shots. He's a threat. They have to guard him. It opens up the space. They've got quickness on the top with their guards. They've got size. Rick Barnes is outstanding. I mean, I think I like Tennessee. I like Tennessee actually playing Arizona in the Elite Eight.
Woo! Boy, that would be some kind of fun there. I'm glad you mentioned Josiah. What a year he's had. And then out in the Midwest, Kansas is the top seed, and then Bruce Pearl's Auburn Tigers check in as the 2, and then another dangerous 3, of course, Wisconsin. LSU, you've got them. They're 6. Will Wade is no longer the coach, so we'll see what they look like without him at the helm. But what do you think about that region?
Well, I think LSU is one of the elite level defensive teams. I had them last year in the tournament, and they were really good offensively, and they were questionable on the defensive end. This year, they're really good defensively. And yes, without Will Wade, the big question mark is, which team will show up, one that wants to win or one that's done. I think Kevin Nickelberry has done a great job so far, helping bring the talent in, helping coach this group of kids. I think they'll play hard. I think they're really good defensively. And Tari Eason he's a beast inside, a 6'8" guy who can score in every way. He's a first-team All-SEC performer, and he's the 6th man of the year in that league. I think LSU is maybe a little bit under the radar. It's going to be interesting to see what kind of mentality they show up with. But I've got Wisconsin also, and I had Wisconsin earlier in the year, and it was just when Johnny Davis was starting to have a breakout party, right? They had won the Maui Invitational. I had him at Georgia Tech. Johnny Davis and Brad Davison are 2 outstanding guards. Their backcourt is solid. They've got size up front. They play a certain ball control offense. They play through the post. And then they've got Johnny Davis who can make a game winner for you in a late game situation. I like I said earlier, I like the 3s. I really like the 3 line this year in the NCAA men's tournament.
Is Johnny Davis fully healthy? Because there's a lot of, I guess, question whether he's 100% right now.
Yeah, I can't answer that because
Okay.
I don't know. I haven't seen them. Obviously, we won't be have access to them until Thursday for practice. But from what I've heard, he's fine. I mean, he has
Good.
plenty of time to recover from the Big Ten tournament and not playing the final game. So of the regular season. So I think I'm sure he's going to be fine. I would not count on him not playing.
No.
Debbie, we're going to get you out of here very soon. You got a whole country of basketball fans to worry about this weekend, and so we know that you're short on time. But anybody else that you'd like to kind of mention on the men's side of things, somebody to keep an eye on, maybe a lower seed that can make a run. How about Virginia Tech as an 11 in the East? Teams like that could be a lot of fun to watch starting Thursday.
Well, I mean, Mike Young at Virginia Tech, what a story. 4 guys that were mid-majors, and 3 of them he coached at Wofford. And he's taken his style and his teachings to Virginia Tech, and they're outstanding. They're fun to watch. I had them in their last regular season game against Louisville. They move the ball so well. Their spacing, the way they lift the weak side and isolate the strong side, the way they get the ball in the post, the way Keve Aluma can lift and score and shoot threes. I mean, they are really fun to watch because of the way they move the ball. And there's just the story behind them has been so fascinating that they've actually been playing like an NCAA tournament team since February 1.
Yeah.
They called it coming from a dark place after going 2-7 to start ACC play. Who would have ever thought they've gotten this far? But they're exciting to watch. I think they're a team to keep your eye on. And then I also like Iowa. I mean, I'm sure we're going to get to Caitlin Clark on the women's side, but on the men's side, Keegan Murray is really good. He could have been a Big Ten Player of the Year alongside of Johnny Davis. He's had an outstanding year. He can score in so many ways. And they've got a good story behind them as well. And so you kind of root for the underdogs a little bit when you know the story underneath or a layer underneath what you see on TV. Fran McCaffrey with his 2 boys and Keegan Murray playing with his brother. It's just a kind of a cool, warm, fuzzy that you like to see teams like that have success.
And the way they're playing now, Iowa, if we get Iowa-Kansas, that could be fun.
Oh,
could be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah, let's see. That would be the Sweet 16.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You mentioned Iowa, Debbie. All right, to the ladies' side, they are the 2 seed in South Carolina's region, the Greensboro region. So the ones, as we all know, the Gamecocks, Stanford, Louisville, NC State, they're elite. There's no question. You mentioned you like the 3s on the men's side. It's kind of hard to not like the 2s on the ladies' side as well, because Texas, Iowa, Baylor, and UConn are those 2 seeds, and they are dangerous as the tournament approaches. We'll start with that Greensboro region. It's the number 1 overall seed, South Carolina, Debbie. They've got 5,000 and McDonald's All-Americans on their roster, largely expected to win this thing, but they could run into Iowa in an Elite Eight matchup, and we all know what will be on the line there because there's a lot of folks clamoring for a player from each team to be the National Player of the Year, Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston.
Well, first of all, look, Dawn Staley has been remarkable. She has done an incredible job with her talent, with expectations, playing the toughest schedule in the country. I don't know how other ways you can measure it. They've been the best team all season long, and they have produced. They've found a way. Yes, they have 11 McDonald's All-Americans, and they have the best player on the best team right now, and Aaliyah Boston with 26 consecutive double-doubles. I mean, she's good. I mean, she's been good. She's been consistent. And if it does end up with Caitlin Clark and the 2 seed Iowa making it that far, South Carolina has a lot of different styles of defenders that they can put on her. So they can go small and quick, long and athletic. And athleticism and length has bothered Caitlin Clark in the past. But look, guys, I mean, when you could take one dribble across midcourt and you get to the logo and you pull up and shoot a 3, it's pretty hard to guard, and it's pretty fascinating to watch. And it definitely is Steph Curry-like. So it's exciting. It could be must-see. That could be an incredible opportunity to showcase our game at the highest level, which is what we all want to do.
Yeah, something tells me Caitlin Clark fits into the Debbie Antonelli school of shoot till your arms fall off, right?
She recently sent me one of her t-shirts that says "From the Logo," and I think when you talk about the logo in terms of basketball, you've got the Caitlin Clark logo, which is the midcourt logo, and then you get the logo in the middle of the lane. I think you have to clarify what you're talking about. She can hurt you from either logo, to be honest with you. And she's got a great counter on the inside, and Monica Sinano, who you guys will love this number. I mean, last regular season home game for Iowa, last regular season game was Michigan. I had that game on ESPN with Beth Mowins, and I watched Monica Sinano's baskets up to that point in the season. She had made 214 baskets. I watched them all on Synergy. I was curious how many times she dribbled to score those 214 baskets. At that time, she only dribbled 16 times.
What?
Okay, think about that. 16 dribbles. That means Caitlin Clark is getting her on a deep post where she doesn't have to put it down. She's quick with her move, left or right, so you can't bring a double and really affect her that way. If she catches it in the high post area, she's still capable of scoring. She doesn't need to put it on the floor. And it's just a real testament to the kind of interior game they have. And that's something that Iowa teaches. They teach no dribble in the post catch. So I thought it was kind of interesting because it was a crazy number, and I love talking about it.
That is unbelievable. I have never heard of that, Debbie. I jotted that down so I can steal that for later on this week. I'm going to sound smart because of you, of course. In the Wichita region, Louisville's the top seed, Baylor's the 2 seed, Tennessee's the 4 seed. They've struggled a little bit to wrap up the season, or wrap up the regular season and into the tournament. But what do you see out of that region?
Well, you bring up Tennessee, and Kelly Harper's done a great job. I mean, she's put them back on the map nationally. At least they're in the conversation, and getting to play at home is a big deal in the NCAA Women's Tournament, as you guys know. The top 16. So being on that 4 line is important for that reason. And playing Belmont, an in-state school that shoots a lot of threes. I mean, Belmont's going to light it up. I mean, this is going to be a fun game to watch because Tennessee has not been 100% healthy all year, and I think it's really affected them. But it might neutralize Tamari Key a little bit on the inside because she's going to have to run and guard somebody on the perimeter. And it's going to be interesting to watch. It's a really good matchup. Sometimes I don't know if the committee knows that they're putting these matchups together, if they're just doing geography. It's a head scratcher for me. But that's one that I would keep my eye on. And I don't have any controversy over Louisville being a 1 seed. They've been on the 1 line all season. Baylor lost in the Big 12 tournament. Louisville's metrics are a little bit better. The ACC has been an overall better league. Yeah. When you look at the top 20, the ACC has more teams in the top 20 in the net, which is a metric that the NCAA uses. As you know, it's a tool for evaluating the teams. And so I'm not surprised the ACC has 2 1s. And I think Louisville's they're an elite level defense. They're going to guard you. they'll make it tough to score.
You mentioned that just kind of offhand here. I meant to ask you this earlier, and I forgot. When the bracket came out, I think there was a lot of people, Debbie, that looked at that Greensboro region and said, well, of course Iowa's the 2 seed there, but using logic here, was Iowa the 4th 2 seed? Isn't that why they landed in the region with Carolina?
Oh man, Jamie, who knows, right? I
Okay,
mean,
all right.
you guys know because you know me so well, and I'm not going to dive deeply into this topic. However, let me just say this. The product is the narrative. Our product is really, really good. And when we don't seed it on a true S-curve, we minimize the product and the competition on a national level. Okay, I have been advocating for one destination site, not just for a true S-curve, but for the fans.
Yeah.
Because right now, if you're a fan, you're not really sure if your team's going to the regional or not, and you have to wait. But if you have to go to a place like Bridgeport, where there are no tickets, or Wichita, which is hard to get to, or Spokane, which is where I'm going, which is a double connection to get there and back, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's challenging.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're a fan, we talk about growing the game. Well, selling tickets is a metric that you use for growth. And TV ratings is a metric you use. But if we're not selling, why are we worried about the ratings? But we can sell tickets. So it's just so much into it. But I don't know. I mean, I loved last year. We were in San Antonio. It worked. It was an S-curve. It was a compelling tournament. The ratings were off the charts. We had a national champion in Stanford with 3 really compelling Final Four games. I mean, come on. Our product is too good. The game deserves better. The players and the coaches deserve better. And the fans deserve better.
No question. No question about it. Debbie, you mentioned Spokane. Stanford's the 1 seed there, Texas the 2, and then Bridgeport. And I know this has got to excite you, a possible Elite Eight matchup with top seeded NC State and 2 seed UConn. Your thoughts on that side of the bracket?
Well, first of all, NC State deserves a 1.
Yeah.
They won the regular season outright. They won the ACC tournament title. They very well could have been the number 2 overall, number 1 behind South Carolina. We're not really sure. We think they were. The Big Ten versus the Big East, that's a conversation about S-curve versus G-curve. And then, of course, going to Bridgeport. And most years, that is considered the death sentence for any team that gets sent there, right? I mean,
right.
We all know it. Everybody talks about it openly. I'm not going to shy away from it just because it's NC State. It's a tough draw, but it would be a tough draw for anyone. Now, Connecticut and Coach Auriemma will say you got to play the teams in front of you. It's all about matchups, and that is true. But playing in right now, which is probably 90% house, and NCAA allows about 100 tickets for the other teams that are coming into that region, assuming that everything, goes the way it's supposed to and NC State ends up there. They'll have about 100 tickets, and then they'll have to scalp them, if you're a fan and you want to go. So it's a tough draw. And look, UConn, healthy with Paige Beckers, and she's healthy, and she's back to her October form, according to what I heard Coach Auriemma say on a press conference. Well, that's a challenge. That's a big challenge. It's a steep challenge. And, Connecticut's only been to 13 consecutive Final Fours. I mean, only 13. There's genius and greatness up there. You got to take it on, and it's tough. It's not easy because they are really good.
Just 13. That's interesting.
That's it. Only 13.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wonder what they're doing wrong.
You'd think that it's just easy, Debbie. That's just easy to do. Go to the Final Four every
Look,
year.
he is so good. His team is so good. Paige Beckers last year won almost every National Player of the Year award.
Yeah.
I mean, it's tough. But see, that's where I think our game deserves better. Our game deserves more neutrality and a true S-curve. And I'm not sure we protect the 1s when we have a home court advantage for a 2. There's just no other way to look at it. I don't know how else I don't know who else they could have put there. What they could have done is sent UConn somewhere else.
Yeah.
So you'd have to ask them why they didn't, and I don't know that.
Could have sent them to Spokane. That would have made them happy. You always hit on the right points this time of year with this stuff. I totally agree. I'll tell you, with all that you mentioned, Paige Beckers, Debbie, she's been for months just listening to this who's the best player in the country, Aaliyah Boston or Caitlin Clark conversation. She's going, hey, I'll see you in March. I'm still pretty good, you know. Maybe we'll see you in the Final Four, and she can make her statement once again as well.
Well, and you know what? And this conversation right here is a conversation that if this was the men's game, we would be having this all year, and there'd be places to have it. When we don't have that in the women's game, we don't have a place to have these discussions. So who votes and all of that is so subjective, right? And I vote on everything. So I take it very seriously. And I do know in the era of name, image, and likeness, all of a sudden it goes to just a little piece of hardware on your mantle to all of a sudden becoming something larger in the scheme of branding and CEO of your own brand. So there's a lot that goes into it. So people have to take their vote seriously. This is important stuff now on the women's side, since now it's becoming more marketable.
Absolutely. You are spot on as always. Debbie, we have kept you probably way too long. Really can't wait to hear you call all the games coming up starting this weekend. Final question on the ladies' side. With all as good as the 1s and 2s are, anybody out there outside of the top 2 seeds to keep an eye on and maybe crash that Final Four party?
I don't think so, guys. You know, we're going to call it March Madness, and we're calling it Madness because usually you have a bunch of upsets, and it would be shocking to see any upsets before the 1 and 2. I'm not saying it couldn't happen, but I don't know where that might happen unless LSU and Texas up in Spokane, battle it out. But then, that could be an incredible Elite 8 game, which I will get to call in Spokane. So I'm looking forward to that potential. I think that's, to me, Iowa and Iowa State on South Carolina's bracket. They already played. Iowa State won, and they held Caitlin Clark to 26, which is just a little bit below her nation-leading scoring average. So we've seen that matchup before. It's going to be fun. It's going to be really fun. I hope the fans enjoy it. I hope people tune in and watch.
Absolutely. I agree. You could see in that Greensboro region, Iowa State in the Sweet 16. You could also see North Carolina and South Carolina if Arizona doesn't make it through there. So a lot of great stuff to look forward to. We always look forward to talking to you, and we will reserve our next time slot with you for once you're done traveling with all this stuff. We've got 24 hours of nothing but net right around the corner where you're going to raise another huge chunk of money this year. Debbie, I think you've already raised over $500,000 in 3 years combined, if my numbers are correct there. So we can't wait to be a part of that again as well.
Well, I count on you guys for that. You know what Special Olympics means to me. We're not quite at $500,000, but I'm hoping we're going to be at, I hope we're going to be at 1 million at the end of May this year.
Whoa.
But I appreciate all your help because you guys will help us do that.
Yes, ma'am. We will. Safe travels. Can't wait to see you on TV. You're the best. Congratulations once again on your Hall of Fame selection. That is awesome.
You guys are the best too. Thank you so much. And I look forward to talking to you soon.
Yes, ma'am. There you go. Debbie Antonelli with everybody. Honestly, Debbie, ESPN, CBS, TBS, she's going to be all over the place the next couple of weeks. You call it, I mean, Darren, you're a broadcaster and have been for years. So this is March Madness for the teams themselves. It is also March Madness for the talent because they don't find out until a few days before they're going where they're going. And then after that, they're right back on a plane and headed somewhere else and got to learn a whole new group of programs.
Yeah, if you're lucky enough to do it, it's doubly weird that not only is she one of the very, very few that crosses between major networks, but she also does it for some of the biggest games these networks are broadcasting basically at the exact same time, like within a week of each other on CBS and Turner, and then the women's side on ESPN. But look, she deserves it. So that's why it's happening.
Is she, I probably should have asked her, is she the only one that's calling the men and the women this year?
I
I think she is.
I don't know. You could very well have some sideline reporters that could cross over.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
But even then, there aren't many, none that jump to my mind that cross between Turner and ESPN. So she probably is. She's probably the only one.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't clearly know all of them. I was just a minute ago looking at the men's and
just thinking through it. I mean, it's not like Holly Rowe is going to be doing anything on the men's side because she's not working for Turner. So, you can say the same thing for Doris Burke. It's not like you're going to see her pop up on the men's side because she's not working for Turner. So my guess is a pretty solid yes. She's the only one doing both.
That's amazing. Amazing. So she's got 8 teams to worry about on the men's side, and then she has to worry about who she doesn't know yet when she transitions over to the ladies for, I believe, the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8.
It's like, it sounds daunting, but you're used to it by this point as a broadcaster. I mean, because
she's followed all these teams too.
Yeah, A, you followed all of them. B, you've done tournaments before, so you know your own individual prep process and kind of what you need to do to get ready, and you piece it together. It can be hectic for sure. I mean, when you go and you're doing a whole bunch of tournament games, it can be hectic, but you've got your process down and it's fun. So that the enthusiasm it'll drive you.
No question. No question. Great to have Debbie catch up with us for a half an hour. That was fantastic. Didn't realize we'd have her that long, but she's clearly, as always, kind enough to do so. And she said what I kind of thought she would say about Frank Martin. Went instantly to who he is as a person. I know what she said publicly there is exactly how she feels privately because she's expressed that multiple times to me before.
I mean, everyone says it, right? Like, he is a great guy. Everybody knows that. We get that. He is.
Yeah.
This wasn't about that.
Yeah. Excuse me. Coach Beamer just spoke on Frank as well, asked about him, and he said, quote, "He's been great to me. I was over there the day he left for Tampa, and we watched them practice. We'd exchange text messages. He's elevated the program compared to where it was before he got here." So that is what Coach Beamer has just recently said just a couple of moments ago on Frank. Also today, Shane, in meeting with the media, a couple of nuggets here, which we've known about, but wanted to make sure that this is something that Shane Beamer would say publicly before anybody else prematurely had this conversation. Excuse me. A lot of people have looked at how many guys they've brought in the transfer portal and said, man, they are way over the scholarship number. How are they going to get down? And we constantly say, well, the numbers always work out. Well, Shane today has already mentioned that a couple of the guys who will not be on scholarship this year have not been with the program, Jalen Brooks and Mark Fox. Mark has been dealing with some medical stuff. Jalen Brooks, probably not professional to, in any way, shape, or form, get into his situation because even though it's widely believed to be true, we can't prove that. So let's just put it this way. Very unlikely he is going to return to South Carolina. So those are two of the scholarships down. And then I think last week it was announced Jalen Dickerson. He is medically retired as well. So that's another one. And get ready for the end of spring practice in a few weeks and some more attrition in the program. It's just going to happen. He's also pointed out today, DeCarrion Joyner has been back in the wide receiver room, and they've been quite impressed thus far what he's done. And outside of that, can't get too hung up on the first day of spring practice with how guys looked and things of that nature. We'll just tell you as it pertains to Spencer Rattler. I've already exchanged a text with somebody. He looks fine. He looks good, and I think they feel pretty comfortable with what he's going to end up doing. So there you go.
He should look fine. It's the first day of spring practice. He's just flinging balls around. He should look just fine. Everybody should.
Yeah, he's okay. I mean, there's a couple interesting little nuggets there. I mean, that I saw it tweeted by a couple of our media buddies just a little while ago, and I saw Shane talking about it. And this has been true that, he was going to have to do some different things, kind of work under center a little bit more than he did at Oklahoma and stuff like that with what they're doing. So there's a little bit of a transition for him there, but he's an elite level quarterback. He'll figure it out. If he doesn't, then they'll do something different because they need them to play and they need them to be good. So whatever it takes is what they're going to do up in Columbia.
Exactly.
So there you go. Anything else that comes from that, we're absolutely going to pass it along to you here on our program. Just a couple of minutes away from a timeout. Keith Allsep will join us today at 1:20, and clearly going to be a lot of hoops to talk to him about. Second-ranked Texas is in town tonight in Mount Pleasant, taking on the College of Charleston. The Cougs, they've been thumping it around a little bit. They are going to need to really get it together before they face the Longhorns with a 6 o'clock first pitch over at Patriots Point. And then Texas is going to hop on the plane and fly all the way across the Ravenel Bridge because they'll take on the Citadel tomorrow. That's 10-minute joyride for them on a bus. So in town for a couple of days before they head back to the great state of Texas. Obviously, a game to keep an eye on there. Nationally, tonight, the game to keep an eye on is in the Sunshine State, Florida State and Florida. 6 o'clock first pitch in that series. I really wish they would move that rivalry like Carolina and Clemson did, and Georgia Tech. Play it on the weekend. Quit playing it in the midweek, but that's what they're doing. So we'll have our eyes there. Georgia State is in the upstate to take on Clemson tonight. USC upstate is at 20th ranked Georgia. Michigan is at Vanderbilt. That's kind of an interesting national game as well in college baseball. South Carolina will start Aiden Hunter in a midweek game, and they need to win tonight against the running Rebels of Gardner-Webb. So hopefully they can piece that together. We'll see there. What am I missing, Darren? Am I missing anything?
I'm not sure. You've hit all the major ones, the ones anyone's going to care about.
I think I've pretty much hit on all that. So
Michigan Vanderbilt, was that a College World Series? Am I remembering that correctly? Didn't they match?
It was.
Yeah,
it was. So
it was strange then. The same reaction I had then, like, oh wow, Michigan's here, was the reaction when you said Michigan Vanderbilt. Like, oh yeah, wait, I've seen that before.
Yeah, yep. That was a Michigan made a heck of a run there. And Charleston Southern is off until Friday, but they did play St. Mary's yesterday, kind of a strangely scheduled game, and they lost again. This has been the strangest of starts for CSU baseball. They lost 4 straight. You could understand them being swept in Oxford against Ole Miss. Then the Citadel beat the crap out of them, 16-3. And then they swept Delaware State. So they lost 4. They won 8. They swept Delaware State 4 times. They beat them 4 times. They beat the Citadel. They beat Villanova. They beat Samford. And then since then, they have promptly lost 7 in a row. So 8-11 to start the year for CSU. I don't think anybody can figure out what in the world is going on with Charleston Southern baseball. So that's your baseball agenda. All right, it is time for a timeout. Some baseball to get into when we get back at the big league level. A former local star has a new team. Plus, we'll talk about Freddie Freeman in the Atlanta Braves. Keith Allsep joins as well. And anything coming out of Columbia that is newsworthy, we're going to pass it along to you on a gorgeous Tuesday afternoon. Hang tight. The JB and Goldwater Show. We'll be right back.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road. You know what happens when you sell record numbers of new vehicles? That's right, we take in record numbers of local trades. Despite what the news is saying, quality pre-owned vehicles really aren't that hard to find. You just need to know where to look. Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate and on the web at stokesvw.com. We've got over 1,200 pre-owned cars, trucks, SUVs, and all at a fraction of the price when new. Every vehicle has been inspected and reconditioned, many with the balance of factory warranty. Best of all, at Stokes Volkswagen, you don't need perfect credit to get approved for a quality pre-owned vehicle. And we'll take any trade in any condition, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Don't forget, we'll buy your car even if you don't buy a car from us. You're going to love our pre-owned selection, I guarantee it. So come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate or stokesvw.com.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Negative trade equity financed a new loan subject to lender approval.
People don't like to get stuck in traffic, stuck in the mud, stuck at work. And 2 others you probably don't think much about: stuck with a big medical bill or stuck with a healthcare program that doesn't fit who you are. Experience true medical freedom with Share Healthcare. More affordable, more options, user-friendly, and biblically sound. You can join right now. Explore a new way to show you care with Share Healthcare. Join us today at sharehealthcare.com. sharehealthcare.com.
Wando Power Equipment, the trusted home of Hustler zero-turn residential and commercial mowers. There is nobody more trusted in South Carolina than our friends from Wando Power Equipment. They've been providing elite commercial and residential service for over 30 years. Landscape Services have turned to their selection of Hustler zero-turn mowers like the Raptor. Bigger, stronger, faster, and the most durable Raptor Hustler has ever designed. Located on Daniel Island and online at wandopower.com. Wando Power Equipment, owned by the Price family, the home of Hustler zero-turn mowers, rentals, service, and specializing in family and friendship.
It's the best time of the year on the sports calendar, and there's no better place to soak it all in than your spring headquarters. Dog and Duck, with 3 area locations in Bell Hall, Park West, and Clemens Ferry Road. Until May, $5 pints of Wicked Weed Brews and Devil's Backbone. Again, until May. Patio seating, happy hour daily, family bingo on Monday, the Duck Truck Double Burger every Wednesday, rib night on Friday. It's the place to be for the best wings in town, the best sports everywhere you look. Dog and Duck, 3 area locations, Bell Hall, Park West, and Clemens Ferry Road.
Motley Rice LLC is a law firm with international reach, but it hasn't lost its Carolina roots. The Motley Rice team fights every day for people harmed by products including asbestos and talc exposure, medical drugs and devices, and also catastrophic injuries and auto recalls, including dangerous Takata airbags. Motley Rice is headquartered in Mount Pleasant at 28 Bridgeside Boulevard. Visit motleyrice.com. Thank you, Motley Rice, for supporting the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show.
Hi, I'm Chris Half, Public Information Officer at the Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum. We're home of the mighty USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, Flamagore, and Vietnam experience. And we're a proud partner of the JB and Goldwater Show. We invite you and your family to come see us and enjoy a day on Charleston Harbor. Visit patriotspoint.org for more information. And now, it is my honor to present the national anthem.
Live, loud, and online.
All right, final hour, Tuesday afternoon, here on the JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen. FreewayFlyersUSA.com can keep you on the road. If you're in the low country, listen up. Or if you're going to be in the low country, listen up. This is serious. I'm being dead serious. This is the coolest thing ever because I've used them. And you have no idea how convenient this is. If you go to freewayflyersUSA.com and you need new tires, you need a new tire or 4 new tires or 2, whatever it is, 6 new tires, whatever you drive, and you do not want to go sit and wait in a tire shop all day because you will. That's the way that it works around here. There are not enough auto shops in the area. They will come to you. You could be at work. They're going to drive to your office. They're going to change tires. That's it. It's over. Wherever you are, they're going to come to your house. They'll bring the tires. They'll swap them out. They'll take your old ones. FreewayFlyersUSA.com. Put it in your phone. You might not need new tires today, but you might need them next month or in 3 months or whenever it is. FreewayFlyersUSA.com. All right, Darren Keith Allsep is coming up here in just a little bit, and plenty of basketball conversation to get into with him clearly around or surrounding Frank Martin. And we're going to get back into that here in just a couple of minutes as well. Speaking of basketball, though, the AP All-American teams are out. And I want to acknowledge that the Big Ten and the SEC basically cleaned house. They had 2/3 of the players on 3 teams. Keegan Murray from Iowa, Kofi Coburn from Illinois, Johnny Davis from Wisconsin, and Oscar Tshiebwe from Kentucky, and Ochai, is it Abaji? Abaji, right? From Kansas. Those are your first teamers. The second team per the AP is Chet Holmgren from Gonzaga and his teammate Drew Timme. Jaden Ivey from Purdue, Benedict Mathurin from Arizona, and Jabari Smith from Auburn. And the third team selected by the AP is JD Note from Arkansas, James, I can never pronounce his last name either. Akinjo, is it Akinjo from Baylor?
Akinjo, yes.
I think it's Akinjo,
right? With the Joe, yeah, I think so.
Joe, yeah. Walker Kessler from Auburn, EJ Liddell from Ohio State, Con Gillespie from Villanova, and Paolo Banchero from Duke. I honestly probably could have predicted that. Those are the best players in the country. So
those are a lot of predictable names to be put on 3 teams. Yes.
Yeah, this might be a year where I could have been an AP All-American voter. I don't know that there is a player out there that I would say got shafted from the All-American squads this season. So congratulations to all of them, and we'll see you in March.
Yeah,
here in the dance.
Not that jumps right to mind, but those are the guys everyone's been talking about all year long. If you've been like fringely paying attention to college basketball, you've heard almost all of those names.
Yeah, they're all really, really good. All right, it is official in Atlanta. The Braves have signed first baseman Matt Olson, who is a hometown kid, to an 8-year deal worth $168 million. They have locked him up 2 years before he was due to hit the market. So who knows what those numbers would have looked like then? Maybe more, maybe less. I don't know. But they certainly look like this now. 8 years, 168. The Braves will say goodbye to the heart of the franchise, Freddie Freeman. Darren, I mean, I'm not in the front office for Atlanta, so I don't know. But, I'm guessing that just based on what we've heard, I don't know that Freddie wanted 6. I think they wanted to give him 5. But now they've signed Olson to 8. Younger guy, I get it. I just feel like they kind of played the nickel and dime this thing, man. I mean, all right, so sign Freddie to 5. I don't why not? I'm not sure. Matt Olson's a great player. I'm not discounting him and what he's going to do in Atlanta, but he's not a better hitter than Freddie. So I don't know. We'll see if they
or not. He could very well be one over the length of this. So
yeah, we don't know.
I understand the Braves. I mean, obviously he's coming off a hell of a year too. So I understand the Braves fans are, I mean, it's like your heart's ripped out. I get that, right? It's the centerpiece of your franchise. I get that. And all on the same page. Like, of course they're going to re-sign this guy. How's that not going to happen? Now that this has happened, it makes a whole lot of sense. And remember the praise for Anthopoulos towards the playoff run, right? It started before that as the Braves got hot because he was questioned kind of around the trade deadline last year. And then lo and behold, everything he did kind of worked out. Now this makes a lot of sense. He locks up a guy who was going to get paid, a guy who's from the area. He was Vanderbilt with Swanson, or at least around the same time as Swanson. You lock him up longer, and he's in the heading into the prime of his career. It makes business, financial, baseball sense. I know it hurts to Braves fans, and part of me is torn because Freddie Freeman, and I'm not alone in this, has torn apart the hearts of lots of different franchises that regularly play the Braves. So for that, I don't mind seeing him gone, but I do kind of think this made the Braves better, and I think it made them better for a longer period of time.
Yeah, I disagree. I like Matt Olson, and I actually think he'll probably be really good in a Braves uniform, even better than he's been in an Oakland uniform. He's a career 252 hitter. Freddie is a career 300 hitter. That's number one. I personally, I don't like it. I mean, it's nothing against him.
No.
Personally, I mean, this has nothing to do with Matt Olson. And when you go home, sometimes you instantly turn into maybe something a little bit different. But I find it hard to believe that they couldn't give a couple of years to keep the heart and soul of their franchise around, who is going to continue to hit at an elite level. They are like kind of the same type guy. They're the same height. They both throw right-handed. They hit left-handed. So they knew what they were looking for, and they got it, but it just wasn't Freddie Freeman. So,
and it was hard for Anthopoulos. I mean, he teared up in his press conference, and he wasn't specifically talking about Freddie Freeman, but you knew exactly what he was talking about. So it was, I get it. I do think, and we could come back on this, and it could be a freezing cold take, or I think by the end of the year, Braves fans are going to say, all right, I get it. It hurts. It still sucks, but I get it. That's my guess how this is going to go.
Yeah. It's
although you gave up a ton. That was one you gave up a haul. So Anthopoulos is all in. It's not just, hey, we're going to lock him up and sign him for $170 million. He gave up a lot and big time prospects to go get him.
Yeah,
He's all in on this.
In watching the interview with Anthopoulos yesterday, it almost felt like it wasn't necessarily his call. You know, like I could prove that if it was or wasn't. I don't know, but like it just his reaction, it obviously hurt him. And I'm sitting here thinking, is there something else at play here? Are the power brokers and Braves ownership, I guess it's, what is that, Liberty Media or whoever it is, basically saying, no, this is not what we're going to do, but this is what we will do. And he just couldn't get that to budge. Does he have free reign? I don't know, but it just seemed that way.
That's fair, because that's what happens in any organization, right? There are some times where ownership says, GM, here, open book, you go do what you want, but that's few and far between, because when you're talking about these large number of years and large dollars, ownership has to say so, and they can easily say, no, find a better way to do that. And that happens all the time. I mean, that happens virtually every time a front office makes a move. There is, at least if there's not a conversation with ownership, there is an understanding. Here are my parameters, because we can't go outside of these parameters. And if that's the case, it makes perfect sense, because clearly the Braves would have had him back if he would have agreed to what they wanted. Yeah. So it makes sense that there are some parameters. Come on, let's do it in a way we can all be happy. And he said, no.
This is playing out exactly like I thought it would a few weeks ago, regardless of how, if it unfolded in any way but Freddie Freeman not being in a Braves uniform, it was going to be the fault of the Braves. Period. The end. Fans don't care. The Braves didn't re-sign Freddie Freeman. I good for Freddie Freeman too, for standing his ground and saying, this is what I want. He has earned it, and I mean,
it's the benefit of what you play. It's the benefit. Yeah. It's the benefit of the sport you're playing and the success that you've had, that you're now sitting here and saying, I can make a whole lot more money if I just hold to my guns, because people are going to pay me. And there's a bidding war for him right now.
Yeah. Where do you think he goes? You think he goes back to the West Coast? That's probably where he ends up.
It's hard for me to say the Dodgers aren't going to get him, but they're competing with like the Yankees, the Blue Jays. There's a lot of buzz for the Blue Jays too. I don't know. He make the Blue Jays instantly better. He makes whoever gets him, because they're all contending teams. Oh. So he pushes whoever gets him to the top line of look out for them.
Yeah, I mean, he had nothing to, as much as he wanted to be back in Atlanta. And I think what we're going to find out is that he was willing to come back to Atlanta at a great discount, Darren, because I've got a gut feeling the next deal he signs, it ain't going to be for the 150 or whatever he wanted for 5 years to stay in Atlanta. It's going to be way more than that.
Yeah, that's my understanding, which is why he was saying, look, give me an extra year. Because if he goes to market, the market is much more valuable than what they were talking about. Someone's going to overpay for Freddie Freeman, and he knows.
No doubt.
Mm-hmm.
He know absolutely. Yeah. I mean, he had all the chips on his side, and
now he's got a bidding war with the Dodgers and Yankees involved. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
If you want, that's who you want a bidding war. If you're the one being bid on, them two.
Well, I think one of the things that upset me, probably, I don't want to say the most, but to bring a different angle to the conversation, is what we just went through in the CBA. because the DH is now official in the National League. So Freddie Freeman he's always going to be able to hit. And so his career probably at the level in which you would want him offensively is going to be extended by another couple of seasons. So the Braves, technically, which obviously they weren't going to do it, but they could have signed him to a 7 or 8 year deal. And if after 4 or 5 years felt like Freddie Freeman wasn't the Gold Glove type first baseman that they wanted anymore, maybe they had a prospect, they had another deal they wanted to work out, you can still hit Freddie Freeman. You can put him in the DH role. That is now a position in the National League. So I don't understand that, and I'm not going to try to even get inside the minds of the front office guys in Major League Baseball and how they kind of decipher a lot of this. I mean, I know a lot of dudes that have been through it, and it is a science that we don't have 2 hours to explain all this. I mean, there's a lot that goes into some of these negotiations, but I'm not sure why the Braves didn't see that as a viable option to grant him an extra year or two, and maybe in the draft over the next year or two, draft his replacement. I fail to see that. So, because the thing that I look at is first base was not a position of need for the Braves. They had Freddie Freeman, so they could have just signed him and then go out and get whatever else you need, whether it's you need to fill an outfield spot, you want to shore up the bullpen, sign another starter. Like, you didn't have to sign Matt Olson, and you would have continued to have had your rock in the program, one of the best hitters in the game, one of the best first basemen in the game, and then you draft his replacement, and then 5 or 6 years down the road, you either bump into the DH or see what's out there, from a value standpoint. I don't know. I just didn't understand it all.
If they really wanted him, they could have made all of what you're saying is true. If they really wanted him. So let me throw this out. What if they believe that Freeman probably wouldn't play out the final 5 years if they gave him that 5-year deal? What if in their minds they're thinking, either, and there's no real sign of this, not to us, not to what we've seen on the field, not with his numbers, but what if they think 5 is too much, but they were willing to go to 5? Or Freeman also strikes me as the type of guy who, he can hang around and be a DH, but kind of getting out of it and going and hanging with the family after another couple of years. So maybe if you look at it from that perspective and say, well, if we went the Freeman route here and could have had Olsen and locked him up for a long term, we're better long term doing what we did.
Yeah.
Just playing devil's advocate. I don't know. Because
I know you are. Right?
Yeah. If they wanted them, they could have had them. They could have.
We're gonna find out how it works. You better hope Matt Olson hits over 252. Because Freddie Freeman's been hitting 300, and Braves fans know that. So we'll see. I've been around this game a long time. I just, don't know. All right. Before we head to break, congratulations to Nick Schufo. Nick has signed a minor league deal with the Chicago White Sox. He has broken into the big leagues already in his career, and hopefully he'll do it again this year. The White Sox were pretty darn good last year. They made it into the playoffs. So we'll see if Shu can get another crack at it up there in the Windy City. I know that Tony will be excited to fly to Chicago and have to stop there because connecting flights in Chicago are awful and they're never on time. So he can fly up there and watch his son play if he can get back into the big league. So congratulations to Nick Schufo on signing that deal yesterday. All right, final time out of the afternoon. When we return, Keith Allsep will join us right here on the JB and Goldwater Show. Right here in our backyard is Motley Rice LLC, a law firm that hasn't lost its Carolina roots. The Motley Rice team fights every day for South Carolinians who were injured while traveling by plane or bus, harmed by medical drugs and devices, or burdened by dangerous auto recalls, including Takata airbags. Motley Rice is headquartered in Mount Pleasant at 28 Bridgeside Boulevard. We are honored to have Motley Rice as a sponsor for the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show.
At Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum, families walk in the footsteps of our nation's heroes, the brave ones who risked their lives to defend our way of life. Home to the aircraft carrier USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, and the USS Clamagore, there's more than 1 million square feet of exhibit space to roam. White Glove certified, we have several new health safety measures in place to enhance the visitor experience. Come for the day and leave feeling inspired. One of the most impressive museums in the country, located right here in Mount Pleasant. Visit patriotspoint.org for more. We'll see you soon.
People don't like to get stuck in traffic, stuck in the mud, stuck at work, and two others you probably don't think much about. Stuck with a big medical bill or stuck with a healthcare program that doesn't fit who you are. Experience true medical freedom with Share Healthcare. More affordable, more options, user-friendly, and biblically sound. You can join right now. Explore a new way to show you care with Share Healthcare. Join us today at sharehealthcare.com. sharehealthcare.com.
This is Scott Glaze, head golf professional at the Links at Stono Ferry, located on the outskirts of Charleston, South Carolina. I'm inviting you to tee it up on one of the most scenic and challenging courses in the Lowcountry. Our back nine is highlighted with 3 holes that border the Intercoastal Waterway. Visit stonoferrygolf.com to book tee times and discover all that Stono Ferry has to offer. The Links at Stono Ferry is a former South Carolina Golf Course of the Year and is also home to the College of Charleston men's and women's golf teams. Come see us. We would love to have you. stonoferrygolf.com.
Family vacations, a new car, a new boat, all cost money, but you don't necessarily have to make more to afford any of that if you can save cash that's flying out the window now. iHelp Consulting can help you finally get the kids to Disney World, upgrade the minivan, or drop that new boat in the water next summer. Let Daniel and iHelp Consulting consult with you. No fees, just savings. You pay them a percentage of those savings. Save on essential services, credit card fees, you name it. Let them find it. These folks are incredible. iHelpConsulting.com. How can I help you?
What's up, everybody? This is South Carolina singer-songwriter Patrick Davis, and I might live in Nashville, Tennessee now, but guess what? I can always keep up with the news back in South Carolina because I've got the JB and Goldwater Show. Thank you, JB and Darren, for being live, loud, and online.
Final segment on a gorgeous Tuesday afternoon. Good news for everybody. The rain returns tomorrow. I am so tired of this damn rain, but it's coming back, so let's get used to it. I meant to, Darren, you I think you misspoke earlier. I just want to make sure people are clear that Matt Olson did not play at Vanderbilt, but he was you mentioned his relationship to Dansby Swanson. They had played together with the Astros, the East Cobb Astros.
There you go. All right, that's where I got that wrong.
When they,
local guy, just missed.
Yeah. Which I coached against the East Cobb Astros, and quick story for you: we beat them in Columbia, and I threw a kid. We didn't have it. The guy that was ready to go. They won and we won, so we had to play. This has been years ago. And the kid that was ready for, he was going to go for us in game 4 was like mid-80s. Well, if you've ever seen the East Cobb Astros, mid-80s is 5 o'clock.
Yeah, it's not going to work.
That's BP.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I can't throw this cat. We're going to get hit all over the yard. Even though he, mid-80s when you're 16, you're humping it in there pretty good. So I went with a lefty who couldn't break a pane of glass, like literally. Like I could have squatted down and caught him barehanded. And I went over and I said, hey, you're going today. And he goes, going where?
Lunch run, buddy.
You're gonna pitch. He goes, oh, all right. One of the reasons because he threw under bat speed. The other reason is because honestly he wasn't smart enough to realize what he was going up against. So he went out there and calmly gave us 6 1/3 innings of 2-hit baseball, and we beat him like 3-1. And the coach wouldn't shake my hand afterwards. He said that was bush league. I said, well, in baseball you got to hit crafty lefties too. Mm-hmm. You didn't like that. So, anyways. All right, let's see who's up next here. Who is that? Who's over there? Is that Keith? I'm just kidding, Keith.
Bust.
Sean Miller bust. Well, he was busted, at least in Arizona. What's up, brother? How are you?
Hey, so I'm a lifelong Braves fan, and my life spans probably twice what yours does almost. There is no universe in which you don't make that deal. You don't let personal feelings interfere with business. Let me have my say now. Let me have my say.
That's what I was saying.
All right.
All right.
Freddie Freeman has an agent, okay, who wants to get this guy 6, 7, 8 year deal that will carry him till he's 40, his last contract. Okay. I remember when Albert Pujols signed a 10-year deal when he was 30, and I thought the Cardinals were smart for walking away from that. Now, the Braves gave up Christian Pache, who couldn't hit you, okay, or Darren. They gave up a great catching prospect, but they got the best defensive first baseman in baseball, a guy that's 4.5 years younger, who is from the city of Atlanta, and a guy who is the best hitting power lefty in the game. He hit more home runs last year off left-handed pitchers than anybody in the history of baseball, and he's just hitting his prime. Okay, Freddie Freeman is a beloved guy, but I remember when John Smoltz went to the Yankees. I remember when Tom Glavine went to the freaking Mets. Okay, you get past it. You don't let emotion get in the way. This was the right deal, and the Braves, not only that, they locked him up for 8 years at much less money than Freddie Freeman's going to get. Because I'm going to tell you right now, Freeman, I just don't think Anthopoulos could swallow the 6th or 7th years. And that's what his agent wants, and that's what he wants. And the Braves, I think this was a ninja move, because now you still got more money left over than if you were to sign Freddie to go out and add Soler back to the team, or Eddie Rosario back to the team, or get a true center fielder so Adam Duvall doesn't have to play center field, or Heredia until Ronald Acuna's back. This was a great business move and a great baseball move by the Atlanta Braves, and I commend the front office. And as a lifelong Braves fan, to me, this was the only palatable alternative to losing Freddie Freeman.
Well, that I would agree with. There's no doubt. It's not that it's a bad.
Look at the numbers, Jamie. Look at the numbers.
I know the numbers are
WAR. Look at the OPS.
I don't care about WAR. I don't care about that. Freddie Freeman. Hey, look at. Well, hey, you know what, Freddie?
An emotional decision.
No, I'm not. I'm a baseball. There's about 3 things I know how to do well in life, and this is one of them. Talk baseball. I could do this all day long.
Okay.
It's the statement that it is not in this universe a wise decision to bring Freddie Freeman back. That is bogus, and you know that, because Freddie Freeman's going to go get 6 years.
Feel that way. The Braves organization
that's not
feel
Anthopoulos,
that way.
and we know that too. Somebody else is going to give Freddie Freeman 6
Anthopoulos
years.
is absolutely part of this.
He's going to get 6 or 7 years over $200 million. You can bet the bank on that.
Wow, and what an idiot to whoever signs Freddie Freeman for 6 years. Oh my God, the Braves are the smartest guys in the world for not signing
a guy in his prime who is from the city of Atlanta.
That's fine. I'm not saying it's a bad guy that they signed. I'm just saying that it's not just a slam dunk that they shouldn't have brought him back.
Same age than Freddie Freeman was.
And now he's younger.
Keith,
with
he is
more
a career,
time on the back
he's
end.
a career 50-point less hitter than Freddie Freeman. You cannot argue he's a better player. He hits 252 for his
Let's
career.
look at the same age. Let's look at the same age. Let's look at
he's never hit over 271 in a season.
Analytics on top of the fact he's 4.5 years younger.
I don't care about that.
Well, you should care
about that. Guys, y'all are so off.
Soroka, your core players in Atlanta are all in their mid-20s.
Right. Okay. That's fine. Freddie Freeman is 32, not 38. He's not 36. He's not 35. He is 32 years old.
36, 37, 38.
And you can't convince me he's playing.
38.
You can't convince me he plays when he's 37 or 38 either.
Okay, well then you draft his replacement and you move him into a DH role.
They got anybody better than they could have drafted that's ready right now to be his replacement.
How do you know that?
The timeline with their core players, their most talented players on their roster.
Guys, I'm not arguing that this kid, Matt Olson, is a hell of a baseball player. He's going to be fine. I'm not discounting him. I'm saying anybody that goes out on this limb that this was just some no-brainer of a move is – I don't agree with it. Like, we aren't going to know for a while.
I mean, we can agree to disagree, but if you look at the business instead of the personal, to me, it is a no-brainer.
This has nothing to do with
Alex
personal. I don't care about that.
is smarter than all of us put together.
Yeah.
And he did the deal. And
I
you know
agree.
what? I love it. I love the deal.
As a Nationals fan,
Tim, how do you
– the Braves are not paying you $200 million to hit 229 with 18 homers when you're 38 years old.
That's exactly what I was saying before. As a Nationals fan, like, I'm looking at this saying, this is a good move for the Braves. When as a Nationals fan, I don't need to sit there and think.
Hey, Tim, I got to respond to this. Freeman is past his prime. Tim, let me tell you something. People who are past their prime.
I didn't say he's past his prime.
No, I didn't. Not you. This comment we had from Tim. He's past his prime. Guys who are past their prime don't get 6 or 7 years deals for over $200 million, which he's about to get. You don't pay guys who are past their prime $200 million.
That's why the Braves
in baseball.
That's why the Braves are with the guy entering his prime.
That's like paying Chris
that's
Paul
fair. I understand that
bucks when he's 40 years old. Okay?
I'm just
it's not going to be worth it.
Yeah, I'm just saying I cannot wrap my mind around any bold statement that says this is a no-brainer. I totally disagree with that. I don't think it's a no-brainer. I think it's a business decision. We'll see how it works out. I'll say this: if he hits 271 this year with 30 home runs, it's going to be a little bit different from what we saw Freddie Freeman doing for the last 7 years in a Braves uniform. So,
and so he also played in a pitcher's park. Now he's going to a hitter's park with short right field fence.
That's fair.
This
That's a great
is going to kill it. I mean, he hit 39 last year in a big park for the A's. In Atlanta, he is going to hit 40 home runs. He is going to be a 40 home run guy.
Dude, I hope you're right, Brian. Keith and I have a wonderful relationship. We're not really yelling at each other. This is the point of this, but
we just have different viewpoints on it.
I hope you are right. Look, from a personal standpoint, yeah, nobody wants to see one of your favorite all-time players in your uniform go somewhere else. I'm not arguing that. I don't care about that, really. What I care about is that there is I disagree with your statement, and anybody else that says it's a slam dunk. First of all, we don't even know that. We have no. Freddie Freeman could go to LA this year and hit 350, with 30 home runs. Everybody's going, might want to add that extra year on. We don't know what's going to happen. I will say this, and let's move on. I want to get to you with basketball. Please. Matt Olson should not have 2 Gold Glove awards, and I'm going to tell you why. Because in 2019, he wasn't even close defensively to my man Justin Smoke. Go look at the numbers. It was rigged, and it was BS. Smoke deserved the Gold Glove that year. He finished second, and everybody in the league knew it.
Justin Smoke's lifelong friend. Totally
go back and look at the numbers. Just go look at them. All you got to do is look at them.
Is this influencing your opinion?
I mean, clearly.
No, all you got to do is go look at it. Hey, the Gold Glove Award is not like there's so many people voting in baseball, as we all know now, that vote on different things that probably shouldn't be. But Smoke deserved the Gold Glove that year. The number of runs that he saved compared to Olson that season, it was almost twice the number. It was crazy he didn't get it.
Okay.
That's a fact. Just like the sky is blue. That is a fact as well.
You said you don't believe in WAR and then just threw out defensive runs saved.
Yeah, because that is a countable number.
WAR is
they're both metrics.
An equation.
They're both metrics.
WAR is an equation.
Defensive run saved is as well. It's not like I caught this and prevented that guy from third scoring. It's about all of the plays you've made in the field and your range and defense comparable to others. It's a metric. It's the same thing.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll just stop there. But y'all say whatever you want. I'm just telling you, Smoke should have won the Gold Glove that year. I'll tell you who said that. Troy Tulowitzki said that. Anybody want to disagree with Troy Tulowitzki too? Does he not know enough for everybody?
His lifelong close friend.
Lifelong?
Well, not
no.
lifelong,
guys.
baseball,
y'all are making up
Major
crap.
League Baseball buddy.
Yeah, he was the shortstop in big leagues for a long time.
Opinion
matters to me. That opinion's a good one.
He could play.
And he was just in town this weekend with the Texas Longhorns. And he's in town tonight, as a matter of fact, in Charleston. All right, Keith, the move was made yesterday, as we know. Your reaction?
Well, I mean, it's a business decision, and, we were waiting to get to the point, right? Like, what happens down the stretch? Can you beat Alabama? Can you beat Mississippi State in the first round of the SEC tournament? Can you make a run in the NIT? I thought, and then the G.G. Jackson piece, I thought all three things had to happen in order for Frank Martin to make it. But after not only losing, but the way they lost, with Keyshawn Bryant having a breakaway dunk to cut the lead to 1, and he didn't even look at the rim. He was looking up in the stands at the 50 people there to see him. It bangs all the way out to mid-court. Molinar gets in the lane and dishes for a layup, and South Carolina hit one of their next 20 field goals. Okay.
Yeah.
They fell off a cliff. They got boat raced by a team that should not have boat raced them. Quite frankly, I don't understand. If Frank Martin's a brilliant defensive coach, why are you guarding a guy that can't shoot a lick 43 feet away from the basket? So he can just drive past you and get 2-on-1s or get in the lane and pump fake and let James Reese jump up in the air and jump into him and get fouled. I really don't understand how you can play Mississippi State for the third time and not realize Iverson Molinar can't shoot a lick outside of 15 feet. And Tolu Smith, when he catches it, you better double team him in the lane. Okay. That's the scouting report. And they never did either one of those things and never went back to the zone. And it's just like the net and how you have to stylistically change your play. Frank Martin was never going to change. His way was the only way. And that's why he doesn't have a job right now, is they didn't get it done.
Before we start getting into Keith, potential hires and things, there's a lot of hot boards out there. And as I mentioned earlier, and I'm sure you'll support this, we're going to keep an eye on it. We know guys in who cover the Gamecocks at Gamecock Central, at Spur everywhere. They're in it. They're going to report the names that they know. But guys, I would just say that this list is going to continue to evolve. It's just going to happen. Before
national guys are a close-knit guy. I mean, there's like Seth Davis, 40, Rothstein, those guys. I mean, those guys you probably need to have, if you need to follow them on Twitter if you're a Twitter guy and turn on your alerts, because those guys know.
And Hoop Dirt right now for college coaching season like this is a fabulous resource. I follow them only during this time. It's good.
Point. And I would say too, Keith, to back that up, these are guys who are more in the loop with the hoops guys nationally, as opposed to the Beamer hire. Like so many of those guys were way off. It's a different dynamic, and I agree with both of you on that. Before we get there, though, what type of program is Frank Martin leaving behind, and especially though compared to his predecessors, Darren Horn, Dave Odom, and Eddie Fogler?
Well, I mean, look, a lot of it depends on who bugs out and who stays. I mean, look, I mean, nobody is more grateful for the Final Four run than I am. I mean, I think all South Carolina fans appreciate that and will forever be grateful for that, while at the same time being extremely frustrated that you got a guy that when he was at Kansas State, they had, Billy Walker and that other tatted up dude that was like the number 2 pick in the draft.
Martin?
Yeah, when he was at Kansas State.
Yeah, Kenyon Martin.
No, he was.
No, that was Cincinnati.
Cincinnati. I'm talking about the guy at Kansas State. He was left-handed. He really was a bust as a big-time draft pick, but
he was the guard, right?
That's it. Peter Ryan's all over it. Ryan,
he's a wing.
Michael
Beasley.
Michael Beasley, yes. So, the recruiting, even Sindarius Thornwell said Frank's persona, it was easy to negative recruit. And look, kids have changed. Society has changed. Okay. When I was coaching at Goose Creek in the 90s, I was a lot like Frank Martin. I let my emotions get the best of me. I was hard. I was tough, but man, I loved them guys up off the floor. But you can't constantly yell and scream at guys while they're out there trying to play. I come to realize that over 20 years ago. Frank Martin never came to realize that. And we all appreciate what he did, but at the same time, we're all extremely frustrated that you could go to the Final Four and then never make it back to postseason, not even the NIT after that. And unfortunately, he needed to go, and they need to make a big-time hire. And I think they have a chance, whether it's Sean Miller or Matt McMahon, or a historic hire and hiring an African-American coach for the first time to be the head coach of a major male sport at South Carolina. They have a tremendous opportunity to do that. And here's what happened. When South Carolina made the Final Four in 2017, there were a lot of other programs that said, if South Carolina can do it, by God, we're going to do it, and we're going to go out and hire coaches.
Yeah.
Tennessee, Arkansas. Look, we all know Will Wade was a freaking crook, but he delivered, right up until they fired him. Alabama, Nate Oates. Say what you want to, Mike White was already there at Florida. He replaced Billy Donovan. They're probably going to hire Anthony Grant. They're going to keep rolling. I mean, a lot of programs hired coaches and immediately just raced past South Carolina. And now it's time for South Carolina to make a hire that runs right up into the lead group.
So
not Kentucky, not Calipari, but everybody else, they need to be able to make a hire that can race back up. And to me, it's Sean Miller.
Yeah, obviously he would be something. He would be some kind of, that would be the splash that you're looking for. Keith, why do you say Sean Miller? I get his success as a coach. Like, we know what his resume says, but why is there a special type of fit at South Carolina?
Yes.
What is that?
What's always worked is going out and getting the guy that has been a big success at another major program. Lou Holtz, Steve Spurrier, Frank McGuire. That's what's worked. Even Dave Odom, until it didn't work, Dave Odom won the NIT twice, went to the NCAA tournament, left behind great guys so that even an idiot like Darren Horn could win 20 games with. And look, trust me, one of my former players he was on the transition team when Darren Horn replaced Dennis Felton at Western Kentucky. Darren Horn, not a guy that should have ever been hired. Western Kentucky people, they pawned him off on South Carolina.
But here's my question. It's hard to say negative stuff about Will Wade. Well, first of all, it's easy to say negative stuff about Will Wade.
It's very easy.
Let me backtrack that. It's very easy to say that and be correct in saying that. And we all know I personally do like him because he's been good to me, but I understand that's not the point. It's hard to say those things and say he should have been out at LSU because he's a crook, and then say I want Sean Miller. To say that in one breath, to me, makes me smile, because
go back and look at the accusations leveled against Sean Miller and everything against Will Wade. That is not even apples.
Oh, there's more.
Oranges.
No, there's more. There's a lot more for Will. I get that, but you're talking about similar stuff, not the extent, but same general thing. So it's hard for me to say, oh yeah, that guy's terrible, let's bring in this one. I don't know. That's my feeling on it.
Well, I mean, that's fine. You can have that opinion. I'll just say this, okay? Now with NIL, everything has changed.
Yep.
Right.
Okay. And so
yeah,
that draws me more to a guy like Sean Miller, who can be creative in avenues of NIL. And look, Sean Miller is a great basketball coach. Number one, he was a hell of a player at Pitt, okay? I remember him. He's a point guard. I knew him when he was an assistant with Herb Sendek at NC State, okay? That's how long I've known him. I followed his career. He went to Xavier. He built on what Skip Prosser did there. He went to Arizona. He took that program to another level as far as bringing in players. And by the way, go watch Arizona play. Look at all the dudes they got on their roster that he's primarily responsible for. They have a NBA type roster of guys that are ball handlers, shooters, big time athletes, size, athleticism. I watched them dismantle Mick Cronin's UCLA team. UCLA didn't even look like they belonged on the same floor with Arizona from a personnel standpoint.
Yeah, look, I mean, Sean, and I get where everybody's coming from with Sean Miller. I would say, I think I just saw this somewhere. Jamie says the SEC might not allow Sean Miller hire, and that could be true. I mean,
they allowed look, Bruce Pearl at Auburn. Okay, that's all you need to know. All right, it's not Hugh Freeze. Okay, if I'm South Carolina, I'm doing it. Period.
Yeah,
if he wants to come and you can come to an agreement, you do that deal every day of the week and twice on Sunday.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I totally agree. I mean, as long as there is not more there than we know about. You can't hire a guy who you're going to instantly go under investigation with, and Coach Tanner wouldn't do that anyway. So
you'll instantly be watched if you do. You know that.
I mean, North Carolina went under an investigation, and they stonewalled everybody, and nothing ever happened.
Yeah.
Now, I think the NCAA, unless you're Will Wade, I just think it's a lot easier to be able to hire a big time coach that kind of sort of maybe had a similar issue.
Look, you know, the latest intel I have, Coach Tanner is he this isn't, you know, he's not toying around with this. They've been preparing for this for a while. And so is his staff, and he is going to go out and do everything he can to hire the biggest name and the best basketball coach for the Gamecock basketball program. I have a lot of faith in that, and I think everybody else should as well. Let's talk about some of the other names, though, Keith, because I think some of these people are names that you're starting to hear, and you go, oh, you see it on message boards and Twitter. Oh, that guy, you need to hire him. He's this and he's that, and yada yada yada. So let's start on that side of things, though, with who won't be hired. Like, everybody throws out Mike Boynton. People throw out Earl Grant. What names won't be considered?
I don't really think Pat Kelsey will be considered, and I don't think Michael Boynton will consider it.
Fair. I'll throw this out there too. Don Staley should not be on that list because that won't happen.
No,
and it shouldn't.
He should not be on the list.
No, and it's not gonna. It wouldn't. She wouldn't do
Rick
it.
Pitino.
Not going to happen.
Not going to happen.
No.
I mean, he could have gotten the Maryland job.
Right.
Okay. I mean,
right.
He's in his 70s. He's coaching at a great place where there's not a lot of pressure. It's not a pressure cooker league like the SEC. And I just don't think.
No, it's very.
Hey, 5 years ago, 8 years ago, Rick Pitino would have been a great hire for South Carolina.
Yeah.
Now, I just don't think he's not going to consider it.
We haven't talked about Dennis Gates at all. I think you may have just vaguely referenced him when you talked about bringing in an African-American coach.
Jamie and I both like Dennis Gates and Lamont Paris.
Mm-hmm.
And
I like Gates over him.
I would also say Jerome Mincy, who was with Mike White at Louisiana Tech and at Florida, who was a graduate assistant at South Carolina under Darren Horn and then coached a year at the College of Charleston.
Mm-hmm.
He won like 21 games at Jacksonville, okay, which is like the Acme typewriter school for girls. That's how much following they have and support and resources. So I do like Dennis Gates. Dennis Gates going to be a really hot name. I like what, he was with Leonard Hamilton, and he was a huge, like a shark in recruiting. He walked into Cleveland State, which is essentially like the Acme typewriter school for girls as well. Went 7-11 his first year and was Horizon League Coach of the Year. And now they're winning 20-something games, right? And Lamont Paris worked with Bo Ryan and the current coach at Wisconsin.
Yep.
He's winning at Chattanooga, and really they hadn't won in a while there.
Mm-hmm.
So I think when you look around the SEC, Keith, you're seeing things like you look at Alabama hiring Coach Oates. You look at Tennessee, they hire Rick Barnes, Bruce Pearl. So there's different ways to do it, right? I mean, those are big fish names from big schools. Musselman, Oates, rising stars in the profession that have done outstanding jobs at both Arkansas and Alabama, and there's multiple other examples out there. I see a lot of people are saying, like what Jamie's saying in the chat lines here, pluck a guy from a big Power 6 school, and then there's some people that think that Coach McMahon might be the best guy from Murray State. So
hell of a coach.
Mm-hmm.
He's really intriguing to me.
Mm-hmm.
I continue to look at him and go, man, this guy, there's something about him that I like. But is there an off the radar Big 6-ish type name, a Big East, a Big 12, a Big 10 type guy out there, ACC type guy that you might say, hey, you take a look at this guy. Maybe Coach Tanner is interested in that, especially if he's swinging for the fences.
Not currently. Look, to me, Chris Mack is a hell of a coach. Okay, I thought what Georgia did, getting Mike White, that was extremely resourceful. I think South Carolina fans had too much PTSD with Will Muschamp to hire Mike White, but make no mistake, that guy is really, really good. They just had a down couple years, but they recycle back up because he's really good in the transfer portal. Look, I would, I've known Mike Young since the early to mid 90s when he first got to Wofford. There's not a better person in the world than that guy. But he's from up there. Is he going to leave? Probably not.
That's not what it sounds like.
It's hard.
But here's the thing.
It's hard to finger point that.
I said this in the football conversation when we talked about Oklahoma and Texas joining the league and that new football deal that's coming. South Carolina and really all SEC schools, they have more money and are going to have more money than any other schools in any other conference in the country to be able to go out and get guys. Okay. And so to me, if you want to go get Mick Cronin, go get Mick Cronin. You can afford to do it.
Right.
If you want to go get Earl Grant, go get Earl Grant. If you want to go get,
let me stop you there because
just insert name X, go get him.
That's why it's hard to say this because that at that point there are guys out there who you could just go get if that's who Tanner really wants. So it's hard to look at all of those schools and say which is a guy you can go get.
Matt McMahon, even though he's not a Power 6 guy, he's going to be in high demand. If you say, well, there's too much heat on Sean Miller, or maybe he's going to Maryland, or insert a bigger time program that's going to hire him that is more successful. Well, maybe we need to overpay for McMahon because we think he's going to be worth it.
Yep.
Or Lamont Harris or Dennis Gates.
Let me ask you this final one here, because we have a hard out at 2:00 today, Keith. And I agree. Darren said this earlier, and I agree with it. You mentioned Earl Grant. I don't personally think his brand of basketball would be a great fit for South Carolina personally. And Darren mentioned that at the top of the show, and I think that is I really do. I agree with that. We watched Earl Grant basketball around here for a long time, and I agree with that. The other question I want to ask you, and I feel pretty good that I know the answer to it, but I want you to spend the last couple of minutes on this. Why not BJ Mackey, for those that are asking?
Look, I watched BJ Mackey play. Okay, I was close with that staff, particularly Eddie Fogler and Jeff Lebo. And I love BJ Mackey, but I just don't think you can, at this stage, with the money and the resources available, take a chance on a guy who's just now a Power 5 assistant coach, even though he's a great player. And look, he's been with Steve Forbes, who I have immense respect for, and he is a basketball dude.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I said it when they hired Chad Holbrook. I said it when they hired Shane Beamer, who may turn out to prove me wrong. At an SEC program at that level, and the level of success you're trying to have, is hard to swallow hiring a guy that's never done it before.
Fair. Yeah.
I mean, I would have preferred Shane Beamer had taken Louisiana Tech or UAB or some job like that. But for basketball, the number of guys that are winning big at UT Chattanooga and Cleveland State and Murray State, and where my good friend Mick Cronin, that was his first head coaching job after he left Bob Huggins and went to work for Rick Pitino at Louisville. He was the head coach at Murray State. Then he got Cincinnati, which is his alma mater. And then, he decided to become the miniature Wizard of Westwood. That's an inside joke. Mick Cronin's about 5'3". So,
well, I know this. We're out of time, but I feel very comfortable in saying that the Locked On The Gamecocks podcast is going to have plenty of discussion on this all the way through the hire, whenever that is. Keith, what do you have coming up this week on the show?
So I just wrapped up. I'm getting ready to record. We've been doing position previews. Shane Beamer's press conference from today. Tomorrow I'll have Colin Taylor and Ben Portnoy on the show. We'll talk a little baseball, unbelievable series, beating Texas 2 out of 3. We'll get the latest on the search from Collins in. Ben Portnoy will talk football Thursday.
Yep.
We'll have Augusta Stone from Go Gamecocks and her stone cold takes on Gamecock women's basketball, and then still working on a special guest for Friday's show to wrap up the week. But tonight on our Garnet and Black Town Hall, which is for our VIP members, JC Sherbert will be joining the conversation.
All right.
And so that's an interactive live Zoom call that we do every Tuesday night from 7 to 8 Eastern. And then we usually go to overtime that's not being recorded. So that's just extra for the people that are actually on the call.
Fantastic. I know you're all over it, Keith, with the opening now at South Carolina. We didn't really even get into the ladies and their draw, but we'll hold it till next week because that's really when it's going to start for South Carolina. They'll probably blow through the weekend, but
yeah, I thought they got the toughest regional. Thanks for having me, guys.
Always.
Great stuff as always, and really appreciate everything you guys do for Gamecock sports and the state of South Carolina, and for including nobody like me.
Oh, yeah, right. Thanks as always, buddy. Have a wonderful week. We'll talk to you later. I'll call you later.
You got it. Go Braves. Go Matt Olson. Hit 45 this year.
Go Matt Olson.
See ya.
Later.
There you go. Keith Allsep with the Locked On The Gamecocks podcast. I will say, I see it over here in the chat lines. Guys, Steve Forbes is not coming to South Carolina. He just agreed to a long-term extension last week with Wake Forest, and there's significant buyout money in that. That is any money that Coach Tanner throws is not going to be paying $10 million to buy a coach out in college basketball.
No,
he'll throw a bunch of money.
It'd be awesome if you could pull that one off, but
he's not doing that. So could somebody lure BJ Mackey back as an assistant? Maybe. We'll see. We got JC tomorrow. We might have Mike Morgan tomorrow as well. We're working out his travel schedule. We're going to try to squeeze him in as soon as we know something. You'll know something, that's for sure. Have a terrific Tuesday at the Dog and Ducks. Great place to have a drink on the porch and some wings. And we'll see you tomorrow at noon on the JB and Goldwater Show.